Do we have quorum?
Yeah.
If we do, I'd like to start housekeeping, please.
We can begin the housekeeping, please.
Thanks.
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. If attending in person, please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. If translation is provided, click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you're in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby or complete a blue speaker card as available. If you need assistance, please find a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items. Times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. More time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on making a public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-3247. That's 909-396-3247. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you authorize recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. I'd like to call today's Technology Committee meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call, please.
Supervisor Hagman? Absent. Mayor Locke-Dawson? Absent. Mayor McCallan?
Here.
Board Member Padilla-Campos?
Here.
And Chair Rodriguez.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and start with our action items. First, item 1, adopt resolution recognizing funds for fiscal year 2024-25 Carl Moyer program, issue program announcements, and execute and modify agreements for Carl Moyer and surplus off-road opt-in for NOx programs.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. My name is
Hello.
Crystal Martinez, and I am a program supervisor in the Technology Advancement Office. I'll be presenting on item number 1 to recognize funds for the fiscal year 2024-2025 Carl Moyer program, issue program announcements, and amend and modify agreements under the Carl Moyer program. Next slide, please. The Carl Moyer program for 26 years and the SOON program for 19 years have provided incentive funding for cleaner than required heavy-duty vehicles, engines, and equipment. 2 program announcements will be issued for the Carl Moyer year 27 and the SOON program. In addition, amendment of milestones for 3 2024 Fast Track Zero Emission Infrastructure projects. Next slide, please. Under the Carl Moyer and SOON program, multiple categories of vehicles, engines, and equipment will be eligible for funding. As you can see on the slide, eligible projects include vehicles and engines on-road, infrastructure projects, and vehicles and equipment for off-road, including marine and locomotives. And I did want to make a note that due to the recent wildfires, fire equipment and vehicles will be prioritized. Next slide, please. On October 2024, California Air Resource Board provided revisions and approved updates to the Carl Moyer guidelines. Some significant updates include extended liquidation deadlines from 4 to 6 years, an increase in administrative fees from 6.25% to 12.5%, and changes to the award and emission calculations. Next slide, please. As you can see from the table, we have just over 41 million from CARB, just over 7 million from South Coast AQMD from our local match, which equates to about 48.4 million that we can use towards project funds. Next slide, please. For the program schedule, we anticipate releasing the PAs on March 7th, opening the application period from March 14th. Oh, sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. I'll restart. From the program schedule, we anticipate releasing the PAs on March 7th and opening the application period from March 14th to July 1st and having the awards selected and presented by January 2026. Next slide, please. In February of 2024, South Coast AQMD closed the Carl Moyer Zero Emission Infrastructure Solicitation, in which 3 projects were chosen as fast-tracked. Fast Track was defined in the solicitation as shovel-ready projects that will be completed by December 31st, 2024. For these projects, they did encounter some delays. For CNR Environmental Services, they had a change of contractor, but they're anticipated to complete their project by second quarter of this year. For Green Lane, they are near completion and anticipate a grand opening in April of this year. For Prologis Mobility, they did encounter several delays, including permits and weather. However, we do anticipate that 2/3 of their chargers are ready by May of this year and completion of their station by Q1 of next year. Next slide, please. In summary, recognize revenue for CARB into the Carl Moyer program, issue the Carl Moyer Year 27 and soon program announcements, authorize the executive officer to execute and amend agreements eligible for projects under the Carl Moyer and soon PA. And lastly, amend the milestones for the 3 fast-track infrastructure projects. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report, and I'll open it up to any questions, colleagues. No? Okay. Board Member Padilla-Campos.
Thank you. How many people normally apply to these?
So I don't have a specific number, but I know we tend to be oversubscribed during these PAs.
Okay, I was just curious. And so the 3 groups that you mentioned, they're just asking for a no-cost extension, essentially, so they
Correct.
can complete their.
Yes,
Got it.
correct.
So,
Okay.
Board Member, I just want to add a little bit to that. Usually when we open Carl Moyer, we were oversubscribed. So I think it was last year we had the infrastructure focus for Moyer, and we received like $400 million in applications.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very popular
So it
program.
is. Got it. Thank you.
Well, see, there's no other questions. We'll open it up to public comment. And I see we have one online, and we'll take any here first. Do we have any public comments in person? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and open it up. Looks like we have one from Harvey Etter. Hello,
Yeah.
Harvey.
Hi.
Can you?
Yeah, am I being heard?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name's Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition's founder, director, etc., and like-minded folks in the Andes. We'd like to see, we did a study we're incorporating by reference in February of '81 for the Public Utilities Commission after they raised the issue of inequity in doing solar and whatnot, taxing through the rate base. We did a study with the first Black Commission, Commissioner Grimes, called the Low Income Solar Equity Plan. So we do not, there ought to be a report included in this on equity, how it is owned, decision-making, and control. Is it a worker co-op? Is it a family-owned business, et cetera? How does it relate to the community and 617 communities, low income? This should be part of, and it is required under CEQA and NEPA. All right, so that's important. So this is something that's been neglected. So also, want to reserve time because we don't know much of what else is coming up. There were some other points I wanted to make, but I'm having trouble with that right now. So reserve time. All right. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Okay, we'll stop the clock there. Thank you. Do we have any other? Are these all in the queue? Okay. Then seeing no other public comment, we'll close the public comment and bring it back to entertain a motion. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. And second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And no further discussion. We'll go ahead and do the roll call.
Supervisor Hagman, absent. Mayor Lock Dawson, absent. Mayor McCallum,
Yes.
Board Member Padilla-Campos,
Yes.
and Chair Rodriguez.
Yes?
Okay, item passes unanimously, 3 ayes.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 2, approve and adopt Technology Advancement Office Clean Fuels Program 2024 Annual Report and 2025 Plan Update Resolution and Membership Changes for Clean Fuels Advisory Group. Do we have a presentation? Please
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Good afternoon. My name is Vasilios Papapostolou, and I'm the Technology Demonstration Manager here at South Coast. Today, I'm going to talk about item 2 on the agenda, the 2024 Annual Report and 2025 Plan Update for the Clean Fuels Program. Next slide, please. So the Health and Safety Code 40448.5.1 requires AQMD to adopt a plan that describes expected costs and benefits of proposed projects prior to any clean fuels expenditures. And also SB 98 requires the development of a report, an annual report of work performed and accomplishments in the prior year. So we're at the point where by March 31st, we need to submit this document to the state legislature. Next slide, please. So as an overview of the Clean Fuels Program, over the years, the program has been funding different stages of the technology. We see on this chart here that we go all the way between research, development, demonstration, deployment, and commercialization. The Clean Fuels Program has been focusing on technology readiness level stages between 3 and 8. So we've been supporting development, demonstration, and deployment of technology and equipment. And through this process, we are trying to accelerate the development of those clean technologies and the ultimate commercialization of those and the market penetration. So once we get to the point where those technologies, those pieces of equipment are commercialized, then other programs at South Coast AQMD, the incentives programs, along with regulation, kick in, and they help get those technologies go widespread and be at scale and penetrate the market. Next slide, please. So for this work, and in an effort to achieve those significant NOx emission reductions that are described in the 2022 AQMP, you can understand that we have to perform extended outreach, exhaustive outreach, engage with vendors, OEMs, manufacturers, developers. So in this regard, we go to attend, participate, and sponsor symposiums, conferences, workshops, all different kinds of public events. So in 2024, we sponsored 21 conferences. I'm listing there a few just as a sample of those conferences in 2024 that we either attended or participated in with being panelists and speakers. And we're also having clean technology partnerships with the California Hydrogen Business Council, the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Partnership, CalSTART, and others. We also conduct a lot of meetings. So this is all about engaging in outreach activities and networking in order to identify new technologies that can be developed, demonstrated, and eventually commercialized and get into the market. Next slide, please. So between 2019 and 2024, clean fuels funding at about $46 million was used to support zero emission technologies at 58% of that overall funding, near zero emission technologies at 24% of that 46 million, and other activities at 18%. Those are sponsorships and outreach activities as part of our work for the Clean Fuels Program. So within that 6-year time frame, the total project cost had been around $900 million. As of January 1st of 2025 now, we have 57 open clean fuels contracts. Next slide, please. This is a snapshot of funding partners for executed contracts in 2024. So we have partners from all sectors, government, academia, the industry, private sector, and so on and so forth. So these are some of those funding partners during the 2024 work in executing contracts. And collectively, all those funding partners have contributed a $30 million funding towards executing contracts and collaborations under the Clean Fuels Program. Next slide, please. So going into the specifics for the past year, 2024, we executed 25 new contracts at about $26 million. 33% of that 26 million was funded through the Clean Fuels. And you see the breakdown on the right side, on the pie in the right-hand side at $8.5 million using Clean Fuels funds, and the breakdown of the categories that were supported with those funds. You see there a major portion of that 8.5 million is with the health impact studies category at 74%. And I'm providing there a breakdown of what this includes. So all of the contracts in 2024 under this category are focused and are to support the MATE-6 study that we have at South Coast AQMD that has been initiated. And like to go through the breakdown, we will have a brake and road and tire wear emission study led by Emissions Analytics, UCI and USC, and ethylene oxide source characterization study by UCR, secondary ethylene oxide formation study also by UCR, and then a good portion of that funding will also be used towards purchasing monitors, analyzers that can be installed at the MATE-6 stations and also on vehicles that will be going around to support the monitoring activities under MATE-6. Also, laboratory and field monitoring support equipment, including a couple monitoring shelters that are being set up for the purposes of the program, the MATE-6 program.
Ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
On this slide. So I was trying to understand this. The 8.5 million is the 33% of this is over here, the Clean Fuels funds. That was 8.5 million of the contracts. You said 25 new contracts for 25.8 million, and 33% of that would be the 8.5 million for the health impact studies.
The 8.5 million is the 33% of the 26 million,
Yeah.
and 74% of the 8.5 million is for that category, the health impact studies category.
And that 74% was primarily related to what's needed for the MATE-6?
Correct.
Yeah, I was concerned that we were putting so much in that area, but I understand it now. Thank you.
Thank you. And we can go to the next slide, please. So this is a subset of executed contracts in 2024. So going from left to right, we have the Balboa Island ferries installation and the installation of supporting charging infrastructure. This project, those are contracts that are being initiated in 2024 and will continue on during this year and maybe in the following years. So for this project, we will be replacing 3 ferries with 2010 Tier 2 marine engine vessels. And we will also be installing 4 chargers to be able to support charging those ferries for their operations. In 2022, there were 1.5 million people and about 400,000 cars transported using those existing ferries from the 1950s. And now we will be replacing those 3 with electric propulsion new ferries. The one next to it is about the development of a portable liquid hydrogen fueling bunkering system. And that's a project for off-road applications. Though that system will be providing fuel to locomotive, to a vessel, or any equivalent equipment of 3.5 tons in size. And this project will be demonstrated at any of the at one or more of the California ports. The next one, the third in the middle, is about developing a data-driven platform for charging medium and heavy-duty trucks in Southern California, in our region. And this is it's a platform data management platform development by the UC Riverside. And in brief, this work will be utilizing electricity grid data, track operation metrics, information on electrical substations, battery storage, so also time of use, electricity rates and things like that. So collectively, all that information will be used to develop a platform that will inform on installation of charging stations in the region for medium heavy-duty trucks, management of energy as it's stored in batteries that will also be deployed as part of the process, and so on and so forth. So the next project on the right, the fourth one, is a project with Range Energy. And folks from Range Energy are here today with us. They will follow after my talk with a presentation on this work about developing and demonstrating an electric-powered trailer for heavy-duty vehicles. And also new work that was approved by the board a few weeks ago to develop an electric transport refrigeration unit, a TRU, that will be coupled with the electric trailer that they've been working on. And last but not least, as we mentioned in the previous slide, one highlighted contract here initiated in 2024, the brake tire wear and exposure concentrations study in the South Coast Basin, again, under the MATE-6 program. So Emissions Analytics will be doing the tire, will be installing PM10 samplers at MATE-6 stations to collect those samples and compare them against tire composition fingerprints. USC, UCI will be working on the brake side of things with testing various brake systems on a dynamometer, and then comparing those results against brake, or developing actually, brake emission composition fingerprints.
I might, Mr. Chair, you mentioned PM10, but really isn't it more critical for the PM2.5, the brake and road, especially with the new goal we have to meet?
Yes. So the brake and tire wear, it goes across all size distributions. The brake more so on the finer side, tire goes across all of them. So this hasn't been done in the MATE studies before, where we've quantified the particulate matter in the fine particulate sizes.
Yeah, and it becomes even more crucial with the new requirement we have
Right.
to meet. Thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question too? On the brake and tire, is that for all vehicles, just EVs, just trailers? What does it, what's the specific study?
It's the
For?
fleet. So those samplers will be installed at the MATE-6 stations, and they will be collecting the fleet emissions.
For all
they travel
vehicles,
through.
you're not just looking at.
So yeah, this study as part of MATE-6 will collect our fine particle samples and our PM10. And the idea is to try to identify how much of the brake and tire wear are in those particles that we're collecting. So it's kind of an aggregate of all the brake and tire wear emissions, in our samplers. And some of those probably are like, aircraft tire landing emissions from rubber, when they land.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide. And quickly, these are some of the projects that were completed in 2024. And the three on the left, and then there is one ongoing project with a Breath Mobile, the Asthma on Wheels clinic that is ongoing, and it is anticipated to be completed by the third quarter of this year. We can go to the next slide. So that's with all of our activities in 2024, and looking ahead in 2025, this is the distribution of the funding that we are expecting to see in this year. We have a total of $31 million contributed by the projected or expected to be provided by the Clean Fuels Program. And the breakdown of that funding in the different categories is showed in the chart here. Next slide, please. Okay, so as part of the Clean Fuels activities on the advisory group side of things, so we're proposing to add new members. Dr. Lila Rao with the Port of Long Beach. We're proposing to add Dr. Rao to the Technology Advancement Advisory Group. She's an air quality officer at Port of Long Beach, and she's been leading the Port's Clean Air Action Plan, and also she's the lead on the Clean Track program. And on the Clean Fuels Advisory Group side, we are proposing to add Dr. Abbas Goudarzi with Motor Technologies. He's also a research affiliate with UCLA on advising on wildfire mitigation strategies for utilities and other work and renewable energy applications also. And then Ms. Yasamin Gavezade with the Building Decarbonization Coalition of California. She's the new director of policy and campaigns with these organizations effective March 1st. Next slide, please. And this is the timeline of how we are developing and the annual report and the plan update. And we go through this process of the review, the draft development of draft version, review by the tech committee, the advisory group, and then going into the process of adding the annual report to the plan update, to the draft plan update, and have the advisory group review and the technology committee review at this time now, and then bring the items to the board in March, so that we have everything ready to be submitted to the California legislature by the end of March. Next slide, please. So recommended actions for this item: approve the 2024 annual report of the Clean Fuels Program, adopt the 2025 plan update, adopt the resolution finding not duplicate projects or programs funded by other state local agencies, approve and adopt the advisory group membership changes proposed here, and receive and file the Technology Advancement Advisory Group membership changes as well. And next slide, please. And last but not least, we would like to remind some of you or let you know that we will be organizing and hosting a technology showcase, Governing Board Day, March 7th, Friday, between 9:30 and noon in the morning. And we will have an array of on-road class 3 to 8 battery electric fuel cell vehicles and equipment. Some of those are shown in the photos there. And then also other technologies and equipment such as the mobile monitoring laboratory platforms provided by Monitoring Analysis Division. Those platforms have just been used with the wildfires in LA to monitor around those areas. Commercial electric lawn and garden equipment, and also vendors demonstrating, showcasing their air filtration systems, portable air filtration systems. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your report, and I'll open it up to any questions, colleagues. No. And Padilla Campos, board member? No? Okay. Let's see if we have any public comment here. I don't see anyone here for public comment, and we do have one online. And before we, well, let's go ahead and take that. And we have Ranji George on.
Good morning, board members. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Ranji George. I was a program supervisor in the Technology Advancement Office, and I was directly involved in developing these reports, staff reports, when I was working there in the 90s. And I just have some comments about it. Please, I noticed there are a lot of funding for stationary sources, and I'm just going off from Mayor McCallan's earlier comment. When we were doing it, even though we, like myself, wanted to do a lot of solar projects, we were denied by the General Counsel of AQMD, saying that these projects have to be mobile, directly mobile sources, because the funding is coming from mobile sources. I don't know what has changed, why so much money is being transferred for health studies and other stationary projects. Like there's a stationary project worth $2.5 million. That's a substantial amount of money. So I don't know what has changed. Many of these are laudable projects. I'm not criticizing the nature of the project, but the funding should be strictly for clean fuels because the clean fuels funding is so limited that we need to preserve these resources. And secondly, on page 9, there's a listing of amount of funding that has gone to zero emissions and near zero, and the amount listed is around 543 million. But it's not broken down between battery and hydrogen. This is what's happening. Over the last several years, last 27 years or so, all the money has been going to either natural gas or natural gas and now batteries. But very little is going for hydrogen. And the small amounts that being going is not being listed under the larger category of zero emissions. So I would urge the board members to press them to break it down every time when there's zero emission being called to break it down between batteries and hydrogen, because hydrogen is a more advanced zero emission technology than batteries. As I continuously mentioned to you, batteries have serious pollution concerns during the making and manufacturing of it and during the disposal of it. Hydrogen has very limited impacts compared to battery during all three processes, during the manufacturing, the operation, and the disposal. So why don't you split it up and get a lot more efforts into the hydrogen program, more than what you have done all these years? Then third, finally, there was no mention of battery recycling in this program. I'm deeply disappointed. As I mentioned, these millions of batteries are coming online into the region, and they have to have large battery recycling factories, and these will be put in EJ communities. It won't.
Thank you for your comments, and we'll go to our next speaker, Harvey Etter.
Yeah. Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Hi. Thank you. My name's Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for Public Solar Power Coalition. I'm ditto for what Ranji's saying. Also being omitted is solar thermal. Okay, we had the first solar thermal plants in the world built out here by the Department of Energy and the Israelis. The Israelis built 350 megawatts, mostly 80 and 30 megawatts, 40 years ago. Okay, also and storage. Thermal storage has been ignored. We designed and built a system like 40, 50 years ago at UC Santa Cruz made out of aluminum cans and recycled materials. They tore the sucker out rather than testing it. That's something else. But this stuff is out there. It's been done. We've given numbers and histories on this, and it's being ignored. It's really outrageous. And the International Energy Agency is one thing. They've got histories on this, and we're trying to network with that. And thermal in concentrating collectors, aluminum foil can be used as concentrating collectors that cost like a nickel or a dime a square foot, for God's sakes. You can get thousands of degrees. We went and got recycled dishes off of ships and stuff and built this stuff 40 years ago, and it's outrageous. We were doing it through JPL, and they went and moved it to Sandia, 1,000 miles away. Where the people are, where the technologies needed. We work with those people. We need to have this done and done now. It's been ignored by technology advancement, and I'm real pissed about it. And it's short-sighted, and it's shorting our future. And also, you've got 52 houses up in Canada, Drake's Landing, that they have flat plate collectors, and they heat the earth, and that gets 20, 30 below zero, and they've had 100.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I don't see any other online unless I'm missing anyone. No? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. I'll take it back unless there are any questions. I do have a question, but did you have anything there? No? Okay. So on slide 10, if you could go back there for a moment, I just wanted to ask about the scope of our $31 million you highlighted. Yeah, can you put slide 10 back on screen, please? Thank you. So I'm just curious, within the scope of funding and projects, would there be within those dollars a scope that allows for, say, a hydrogen fueling station? Let's say there was a new location that was proposed. Would this funding be available for that, or is that another program?
Yeah, Chair, this program could fund that potentially. We would like to see a new type of hydrogen fueling station with this program. So as you probably recall, back in January, we brought to the board the Moyer Awards for infrastructure. And in there, we funded everything, all the hydrogen infrastructure projects that were received, except for one that was a little bit too expensive for us. So the Moyer program is also a really good funding source for the hydrogen infrastructure and other infrastructure for the zero emission equipment.
Okay. And so it's either the Carl Moyer or potentially this is really also looking at kind of pushing toward the new innovation, new technology approach. Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. So then that would fall under the hydrogen mobile fuel cell technology 10%. Is that?
Well, I think it would go
we're
into
in
the zero
pie
emission
here?
infrastructure, the green area there on the bottom left, the 20%.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Appreciate it. And I don't see any other comments or questions, so we'll go ahead and move for the item. Roll call. Okay.
Did you move it? I second.
Yeah, I'll have to make the motion. Second, we'll call for the vote.
Supervisor Hagman, absent. Mayor Lock Dawson, absent. Mayor McCallum,
Yes.
Board Member Padilla-Campos,
Yes.
and Chair Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay, item passes 3 ayes.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next and last item here, just for regarding the showcase, I'm hoping that amongst those that will be coming out, we've already invited as practices to invite the media to come out.
Yes, we have invited the media.
Okay. And do we have, just in the event that someone missed the showcase, do we have plans to maybe capture the spirit of the occasion and the innovations on display with a video of any kind?
We'll look into that and get back to you. I'm not sure what we have, but I want to confirm and get back with you.
Okay, yeah, I want to strongly encourage that with all the time and effort that goes into that. It would be great to be able to have, even if it was a 2-minute video or something of that or less, something that could be posted on social media that could capture the spirit of what we're doing and the partnerships that are happening. And again, just it's so wonderful to have these types of opportunities. But as we know, so many people are busy and they miss it. And to be able to capture that in social media through this video approach, I'd really encourage that. So look forward to hearing about how that might come together. Thank you.
I love that idea. Even wondered if you guys do a traveling thing. We'd love to have you in the Northeast Valley. Showcasing this.
Okay, well, I appreciate how staff continues to provide us with opportunities for those who participate in our meetings, attending them, or follow later on and watching the web stream videos afterwards to be able to kind of hear first and foremost from those who we're partnering with. And so I'm pleased to introduce this item 3, practical electrification of heavy-duty fleets with range energy e-trailer systems. I think we're fortunate enough today to have Range Energy here to share with us an overview of their system and with its key strategy in the electrification of heavy-duty fleets. I'll turn it over to staff to introduce our speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So Jason Cha is with the Range Energy. He's their Chief Product Officer. And prior to being at Range Energy, he was the founding Chief Operating Officer of Universal Hydrogen, which developed hydrogen-powered aircraft propulsion systems. And Jason has also worked at Universal Technologies, Airbus, and Google. He holds a bachelor and a master degree from Stanford in product design and mechanical engineering, and also an MBA from Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management.
Thank you, thank you very much, committee members and staff members, for the opportunity to be here and share a bit about some of the things that we've been working on and the projects that we've worked with South Coast on. Next slide, please. So the three topics I'll cover today is a bit of an introduction to the team and to our technology. I'll talk a bit about some of the projects, or the project that we have that we're just about to wrap up. And then I'll talk a little bit about the project that we are about to kick off in the next few months. Next slide, please. So a bit of an introduction to the team. So besides myself, there are a number of other folks on the team that have a really deep passion for developing new technologies that can help decarbonize vehicle emissions. Our founder, Ali Javidan, was one of the early engineers at Tesla. And so he actually was put in charge of building the very first few Model S's. And so he's seen firsthand how there can be a real transformative effect in an industry when new technology is brought to bear and an ecosystem of partnerships is created to really get that technology out there. Besides Ali and myself, there's an incredible team of engineers, policy people, and other individuals that are really looking forward to trying to do our part to tackle this incredibly important source of emissions and try to reduce it. Next slide, please. So what is our solution? What does our technology entail? Basically, what we've done here is we've created a electric trailer system, an e-trailer system, that mounts to a trailer. It installs on most trailers, and we can use and this means that we can use and leverage existing equipment, including trailers. I'll talk a little about TRUs, and certainly these trailers can hitch up to any tractor that's already out there. We don't create any new interfaces. We don't need any adaptations or retrofits on the tractor side, and you can hitch up and go. We like this because it makes sense for fleets, and I can talk a little bit about some of the reasons that we believe that. And we also believe that it makes sense for communities because we can make a real tangible impact in air quality in these communities. Next slide, please. So what is our e-trailer system? Our e-trailer system has two primary components. One of them is what we call the energy module. That energy module is basically a bunch of batteries, right? Batteries and some power electronics that allow us to safely control the flow of power through the system. And that energy module mounts onto the bottom of a trailer. The second component of our e-trailer system is what we call the drive module. The drive module is a 250 kilowatt e-axle that you can just swap out for one of the passive axles that's currently on a trailer suspension. And so when you get these two components in combination, you're able to attach this to any number of trailers that are out there. You can provide some propulsive assistance and reduce the amount of work the tractor does, and therefore reduce the fuel and energy that tractor consumes. But also there's a lot of onboard energy storage. And so that allows us to power things like lift gates, transport refrigeration units, and any number of other accessories that are on board a trailer. Next slide, please. One thing that we're really excited about is that from a charging perspective, which is what we hear from fleets a lot, is that charging is really difficult. I think the challenges of the rollout of fast chargers is a challenge that's well known, and I think this group has spent a lot of time trying to address it. But as that infrastructure rolls out, what we've done with our system is we've designed it to take advantage of a couple different key characteristics of trailers. The first characteristic is that trailers sit around a lot more often than other vehicles. So for example, a tractor, a semi tractor, generally is moving quite a bit. It's always in motion, and that's how it's making money for the businesses that operate them. Trailers, by their very nature, at the very least, are stationary for 30 to 45 minutes or maybe an hour at the dock to get loaded and unloaded. And beyond that, a lot of times they spend time sitting at the dock overnight or sitting in yards overnight. This is a perfect opportunity for opportunity charging, which can be done at a lot lower charge rates and therefore can be done with existing infrastructure in many cases. And so in many of the trials that we've done with customers, we've noted that we can use existing three-phase 480-volt power that the facilities have, tap into that AC circuit and charge our system fully in the existing dwell time of that trailer. Next slide, please. We're excited about this solution because we believe that we can get it out to market a lot faster than other different solutions. And we can do that at a relatively affordable price point. We believe that this is more deployable because, as I just mentioned, it's not tethered to specific fast charging infrastructure. Certainly, we are compatible with that infrastructure and really would enjoy leveraging it. But we can take advantage of the infrastructure that already exists at a lot of these warehousing facilities. Next slide, please. And I think a really exciting opportunity here is that there are over 3 million trailers on the roadways today, and our technology can have an impact on the vast majority of these trailers. And so this is not something that we're going to have to wait a really long time for the technology and insertion cycle to sort of take its course. We are sort of constrained by fleets adopting and our ability to produce these things. Next slide, please. And so, of course, I've been telling you about what our technology is, and I think the whole point of the projects that we worked on with this team is actually show what the technology is. And so, next slide, please. During a 1-month-long deployment in the South Coast Air Basin, we worked with a business, a beverage distributor, and actually ran one of these trailer systems in their fleet. You running their normal routes, and you can see here that those routes range from 25 miles to almost 250 miles. Hauling around beverages are quite heavy, and so payloads of 26,000 to well over 40,000 pounds, which is very much on the heavy end of things. And we're able to achieve some pretty exciting fuel efficiency numbers. And so, generally speaking, a tractor has an average fuel economy of somewhere around 7.2 miles per gallon. We're able to hit almost 9 on the low end and, in excess of 13 mpg on the high end over the course of this month, which represents somewhere between 20 and 80% mileage efficiency gains. And then on the emissions front, which is another portion of the project, we were able to take a look at that as well. And we had some pretty significant reductions in both PM and NOx emissions, especially at lower speeds, which would be more representative of the emissions that we would see around warehouse facilities. Next slide, please. And so, on the tail of that project, we've done some additional work. We think that there's some interesting benefit that could be had in the refrigerated trailer space. So the first project was really focusing on the dry van trailer market. This next project is working on refrigerated trailers. As I mentioned earlier, we can take an existing TRU that has electric standby capability, and we can run that in fully zero emission operations. And so this is actually kind of an answer to sort of a challenge. I guess we kind of read it as a challenge that CARB put in 2022 technology assessment, which sort of called out, hey, it would be really interesting to see if you could take some of these hybrid TRUs and run them off of battery power. And so that's exactly what we're doing. And the other aspect of the project that we're hoping to demonstrate is just sort of the end-to-end practicality of this, that you can actually deploy this in real operations, you can leverage infrastructure that's already there, and you can have some real benefits for businesses, certainly, but certainly for the communities that surround these businesses. And so we're really excited to undertake that project over the next few months. And thank you again for the time. That is the end of my presentation.
Oh, thank you for being here today, Jason, and want to open it up to questions from my colleagues.
I might, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
question really to staff. Would this trailer be eligible for wear points under the,
So I think Jason can talk about their path to commercialization and selling these trailers, but I know that they have been in touch with our WARE program staff, and they are looking at this.
okay, thank
Oh,
you.
there's Ian right there. You see?
There's Ian. I was
Hi.
looking for
Hiding
you.
in the corner. We are in discussion about it. The option that would apply within the WARE rule is a custom plan. We have that alternative option for new kinds of technologies such as this. So we're in discussion.
Very good, thank you.
Board Member Padilla-Campos, no questions? Okay. So I'm going to go back to that last question. So do we have a sense of when we would have an answer? It would really be encouraging to see that type of connection
So
between.
Chair, I think
what,
maybe Jason, could you elaborate on when you're expecting commercialization and start to sell these units?
Yeah,
That'd be
sure. So our target is to make our initial customer deliveries by the end of this year and certainly scale that up significantly in 2026. And so we feel like it's just around the corner, but can't come too soon.
Thank you. And the two types that you were sharing today in your presentation, the first with the pilot program on slide 8, was very encouraging to see the emission reductions and upwards of 245 miles range. Help us to maybe understand some of the challenges to bring something new and innovative to market, and what are you hearing from the end user, your customer, from the standpoint of, can you give us an appreciation of current versus this technology and the cost difference to bridge to this new use?
Sure. Yeah. So I think you kind of hit it on the head, right? It's new and innovative technology, and we're working with an industry that is sometimes resistant to change and certainly working on very thin margins. And that's why we've taken such a close focus on practicality and cost savings here, because we know that in addition to wanting to reduce emissions, which many of these businesses want to do, they have a need to be able to operate their businesses without having to make major changes and disrupt their normal operations. And so I think from that standpoint, many of our trials with fleets have been quite promising from that regard. What we're doing with charging to try to fit into existing dwell time windows and to leverage existing infrastructure, I think helps that. I think that aids in our cause. And one kind of benefit, and as I'm sure you're aware, right, electric EV type technology tends to be really enjoyed by drivers. And so we have near unanimous, rave reviews from the drivers that do get to tow our trailers, because they get better acceleration, they feel less fatigued. It helps them climb hills and merge onto traffic more safely. Helps them go downhill and not have to use their brakes as much because we're regenerating back that energy into the pack, and so they can take evasive maneuvers if they need to. And so I think the feedback has been quite good. Cost, I think, to your point, is always a concern for them. We believe that we're able to reduce the amount of external costs associated with the adoption of our product. The cost of our product is something that we're actively working to bring down, and that's why we're looking at programs like WARE and other programs like it to try to ease that cost burden for fleets as they make good faith efforts to try to adopt new technology into their operations.
Can you give us a sense of how much more currently it would be? Is it 10%, 20% over the traditional trailer, just so I can understand that range? And certainly think that being able to, and really glad you brought that point up about the WARE program, that would really give them another reason. That would be everyone wants to do the right thing for the environment, but if it becomes cost prohibitive and things aren't going to pencil and you're in the red, as much as you want to do what's right, you want to stay in business too. So curious, can you give us a sense
Sure,
of that cost gap?
Yeah, so I think the best way to think about it is not about a cost gap, because it's new equipment that you're adding to a trailer that didn't exist before.
Mhm.
But the way we think about it is really more on the payback period that fleets need to operate this technology in order to sort of get it paid back and start actually making some money off of it. And currently we're in the sort of the 6 to 7 year payback range. We're working to get that down closer to 5, and we're looking at cost reductions from our end, certainly. But certainly looking at other programs that we can take advantage of, and other ways that we can partner with groups like South Coast to lower our costs and really allow us to achieve greater scale more rapidly.
And do you have any that these trailers that are currently in use beyond the pilot, or is that is what's the next step as far as deployment and being able to get out to broader use beyond the pilot? Is that currently happening or is it coming up?
Yeah, so we do have, so that first trailer that we developed as part of that first project, that's going to be out at the on the March 7th event, and so that'll be here, and you can take a look at it in person. We also have another trailer that's equipped with a refrigeration unit, and it's a refrigerated trailer, and so that's kind of been making the rounds. We have had a handful of other pilots and demonstrations with fleets, and this is that's kind of the phase that we're currently in. We're trying to collect as much feedback as possible from the businesses and the end users that would operate this. And we're also starting to take a look at how can we use some of our technology and do some more community outreach, so we can really understand the impact that communities might that this might have on communities, and any concerns and questions they might have about that technology as we start to deploy it with other businesses.
Of the two examples you've given today on the refrigeration unit side, is that in alignment with the first example, or is that you have some forthcoming pilots?
So the forthcoming project, it's focused on refrigerated trailers. And so the pilots that we're going to be running with that asset are going to be with refrigerated distribution fleets. We think that that's a really interesting use case for us because they have pretty repeatable routes. The TRU is another source of emissions, but also another potential opportunity for pretty significant fuel savings. And so there's some economic payback for those operators as well. And so, we've done some early testing with a refrigerated trailer, and we continue to do that, and are excited to do that in partnership with South Coast, and also use that as an opportunity to collect information on the practicality of deployment of the solution. Because I think that's what industry is looking for. They're looking for solutions that reduce emissions, but that are also practical for implementation. And that's what we're squarely focused on with this next project.
When would you be ready to take orders for clients and have them be able to utilize this technology?
Yeah, I would say that we are, with the caveat that deliveries will not happen until late this year. We are always open to interested businesses that would be interested in acquiring technology. Always happy to chat with them.
So, do you think by this time next year you'll be seeing deliveries occur on this front?
I certainly hope so.
Is that the goal of the?
That is,
if not sooner, or is
that is our
take through most of the year.
That's our target. Every time we set a target, then something strange happens, and maybe it's sooner, maybe it's later, but that's certainly our hope.
Okay. Well, what could we do at South Coast Air Quality Management District to continue to be supportive?
I think you've been doing all the things that we could possibly ask of you. I think doing these demo projects, deployment projects, and validation projects have been incredibly valuable to us as a source of learning. And I think it's certainly been really valuable to the businesses that we work with to have the confidence that this is something that it's not a fly-by-night startup. It's also something that air quality regulators are interested in assessing the potential for, because they're also thinking about how do they make sure that they are operating the business in full compliance with anything that might come down the pipeline for them. And also certainly keeping in mind the community impact of the operations that they have. So I think all these projects that we're working on are exactly what we hope to partner with South Coast on. And certainly as we get further along, we're very interested in some of the programs like the WARE program to see if that's something that could help speed commercial adoption as well.
Chair,
Thank you, Jason.
just going to mention also, aside from where the Carl Moyer program can help with these trailers, incentivize them, along with the California Core program.
Fantastic. I think you have a comment?
Yeah, a question. Where are you located?
We're located in Mountain View, California.
In where?
Mountain View.
Mountain View. And you have other products?
This is it. This is it for now. We're trying to stay focused and get something out to market, make an impact first.
So you can rapidly get up to scale commercially?
Yep, that is our goal. Try to stay as laser focused as possible. Really prove out that this is something that works for a lot of different stakeholders, and then see where that takes us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I would say it would be great to maybe have an update in about 6 months or less if on this WARE front. Be interested in hearing about the progress there and seeing if that could come to fruition so that those that are interested, they'll have just maybe another reason to make that that investment. So maybe we could have an update in the not too distant future, and would love to have you come back. I know hopefully we'll see you on the 7th, but if you can let us welcome back this time next year and with some good news.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
And let us know if there's, in the meantime, any other challenges we can be supportive and collaborate and troubleshoot. Want to thank staff for your hard work on this effort. This is really, again, right in line with what we're trying to accomplish through our efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
With that, unless there's any other comments, do we need to take public comment on this?
There are no hands raised right now.
Okay. I'll open and close public comment then, and that will move us to any other business, colleagues? Nope. Okay, and do we have any public comment? Item 5. And we have Ranji George and then Harvey Etter. Hello, Ranji, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ranji George. I was a program supervisor in Technology Advancement Office in the 90s, and I'm pleased to share that we were the first to lobby for electric vehicles and then later hydrogen, zero emission technology. And I wanted to thank my bosses and leaders who were able to withstand the establishment, go against it. And they were very fair, honest, but they were very passionate about getting clean fuel, clean technologies, especially zero-emission technology forward. And they gave me a lot of support to do that. I just have a specific question on the $500 million award Mr. Biden had given to AQMD. I didn't see any details. I may have missed it, but I would hope the board members will make sure that the funding for zero, I think it's all of it for zero emissions, 50% of it will go for hydrogen. As I continue to mention, hydrogen is the cleanest alternative out there, and I want to thank the previous speaker for all his work in hydrogen. I'm so sad to see that he has given up hydrogen and gone to battery, where seems all the funding seems to be. So since year 2000, we have been lobbying for 50% distribution for hydrogen and batteries, but unfortunately, we haven't got that. 90% of the funding goes to other fuels. First, it went to natural gas, $1 billion. Then now it's going to battery electrics. Hydrogens continue to get a very small fraction of the overall federal and state funding. So I hope that the board members make it a point to make sure that 50% of this funding go to hydrogen infrastructure and vehicles, so that it can compete. Otherwise, people like the gentleman before, the speaker who made, he has to give up his great contribution into hydrogen and get into battery technologies, which is very disappointing, given that batteries, the millions of batteries that are coming in, needs to be recycled. There's going to be a huge pollution problem, and this agency should have been a leader in it, but unfortunately, they are not doing that, and unfortunately, the board members are not asking tough questions. It's going to be the largest source of pollution in this basin, mind you, in few years. So instead of putting some funding, evaluating the different technologies that do the battery recycling, evaluating how these used batteries will be captured and transported to the right sites, these should be investigated and addressed. Also, I would like to see more emphasis on lithium iron phosphate batteries. These are the ingredients are far more prevalent in the world. We don't have to go to World War III for batteries if we go to lithium iron phosphate. China is quite ahead on this, but we should use it as much as possible and reduce our dependence on nickel, cobalt batteries.
Thank you, Ranji, and we'll go to Harvey Eder. Hello, Harvey?
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, my name's Harvey Eder. I'm founder director of Public Solar Power Coalition, 40, 50 years, and speaking for myself and for other folks and entities. Ranji, one thing on the negative, and I think this may be being pursued and exaggerated by fossil fuels, is water vapor as a global warming gas. And my understanding is for 50 years they were saying it was a number of 3 or 4 GWP hydrogen compared to CO2. Okay. Recently I saw numbers 10 times that, of 30 and 40. So I'm looking for more information on that on the negative side. And also it is a propensity to be a more centralized technology due to the parameters and problems of hydrogen, pressure, temperature, whatnot. Okay. And therefore, also incorporating by reference, economist Thomas Piketty in 2014, he wrote a book called it was about equity in the capitalism in the 21st century, about inequity, and another one in 2020 about equity and ideology. And he said that for the last 50 years, and this has been picked up and run in economics and whatnot, there's been no increase in income or wealth in 2/3 of the population. And this is also incorporating by Stiglitz and his 10 book on inequity, and basically that inequity is the threat to democracy, and that's what's happening now. And basically my comment is, and we've said this over the last 4 years and whatnot, that Trump he just pardoned his 1,500 people and stuff. 300-400 of them are vets, and vets go to the police. We got a real problem here. We got a rights to form a militia. We got to take out the Republican Party, take out Trump. Jack Smith's report didn't go after him. I'm sorry.
Okay, we can cut him off.
Well, I always appreciate staff helping us stay on track here. So I don't see that we have any other comment in the queue. And so we'll close public comment, and that will conclude our meeting for today. Our next meeting date will be on Friday, March 21st at noon, and wishing everyone a great day and great weekend. Thank you, and God bless.